Hey guys, tonight we will gently drift back to a time when the world was a little fuzzier, a little more obscure, especially after 40. Imagine yourself hunched over a flickering tallow candle, trying to decipher ancient script, your eyes watering, your head aching as the words blur into an indecipherable smudge. It's a world where an evening of reading feels more like a competitive sport than a relaxing pastime. You probably wouldn't survive this for long before just giving up and going to bed, which isn't the worst outcome for tonight's story. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, let me know in the comments where you're winding down from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's relax and begin tonight's journey together. You find yourself in late medieval Italy, a place of vibrant marketplaces and bustling scriptoriums, yet paradoxically a land where clear vision wasn't guaranteed for everyone, especially as they aged. It's a common historical fact that presbyopia, or age-related farsightedness, was a career ender for many scribes and scholars. Before eyeglasses, a quirky or little-known fact is that some medieval texts describe reading stones, magnifying glass domes placed directly on the page, as an aid, though they were bulky and inconvenient, rather like trying to read a book with a half-sliced bowling ball. Historians still debate whether these stones were a widespread solution or merely a curiosity for the truly desperate. As you trudge through the dusty streets, you start to hear whispers of rudimentary attempts at magnification. Early attempts at enhancing vision were often based on observations of how water droplets or glass spheres distorted light. A common historical fact is that the Roman philosopher Seneca the Younger mentioned using water-filled glass, globes, to magnify text, though it was likely more of a parlor trick than a practical aid. The truly quirky or little-known tidbit is that some early lenses were made from beryl, painstakingly ground and polished. You could probably get better results by just closing one eye and hoping for the best, and frankly, some historians still debate whether these beryl lenses truly offered any significant visual improvement. Now, you find yourself wandering into the late 13th century, specifically the bustling, competitive city of Pisa. This is where the invention of eyeglasses truly starts to get murky, shrouded in a delicious cloud of historical gossip and competing claims. It's a common historical fact that the earliest reliable accounts of eyeglasses emerged from this period, around 1286. But here's the quirky or little-known piece of information. There's an epitaph in Florence for a man named Salvino d'Armate, credited by some later accounts as the inventor. But this claim is largely considered a 17th century fabrication, a sort of medieval PR stunt. Historians still debate whether one person can even be definitively credited or if it was a more gradual, collaborative development. Continuing your journey, you stumble upon a more intriguing figure connected to early eyeglasses, Alessandro della Spina, a Dominican friar from Pisa who died in 1313. Here's a common historical fact. A contemporary chronicler, Giordano da Rivolto, explicitly stated that Spina knew how to make eyeglasses and indeed made them, but refused to share his methods. The truly quirky or little-known piece of information is that Spina was described as a modest man who preferred to keep his inventions a secret. Imagine, it's like discovering the secret to eternal youth and then burying it in your backyard. Historians still debate whether Spina truly invented them or simply mastered the craft independently after observing someone else's work. As you move forward, the focus shifts slightly away from solitary inventors and towards the workshops of Venice, a city already renowned for its exquisite glasswork. It's a common historical fact that by the early 14th century, Venetian glassmakers were at the forefront of producing the high-quality glass needed for lenses. The quirky or little-known aspect is that the Venetian Republic actively encouraged this innovation, even offering special privileges to skilled glassblowers to prevent them from leaving and sharing their secrets. They were so protective that you could practically be tried for treason if you spilled the beans. Historians still debate the exact degree to which the Venetian government actively sponsored the development times of eyeglasses versus merely facilitating the production times of glass. With the availability of lenses slowly increasing, you start to notice something peculiar. Eyeglasses aren't just practical tools, they're becoming status symbols. It's a common historical fact that in the 14th and 15th centuries, owning a pair of eyeglasses was a mark of wealth, scholarship, and importance. The quirky or little-known piece of information is that portraits from this era often depicted cardinals, scholars, and nobles wearing eyeglasses, not just for practical reasons, but to subtly broadcast their intellectual prowess and social standing. It was the medieval equivalent of flashing a designer watch, only instead of telling time, it told people you could actually times read times the time. Historians still debate whether this symbolic value accelerated or hindered the widespread adoption of spectacles. You observe a gradual, almost glacial shift in the accessibility of eyeglasses. While still far from commonplace, they begin to trickle down through society, slowly, like molasses on a cold day. It's a common historical fact that early eyeglasses were primarily convex lenses, designed to help with farsightedness, which disproportionately affects older individuals. The quirky or little-known piece of information is that concave lenses for nearsightedness didn't really appear until the 15th or even 16th century, meaning if you were born with poor distance vision in the 14th century, you were largely out of luck. It's almost as if the medieval optician said, sorry, you can read the fine print, but that dragon in the distance, still blurry. Historians still debate how quickly the production methods adapted to create different lens strengths. Finally, you arrive at a point where the subtle impact of eyeglasses starts to become undeniable, even if still understated. It's a common historical fact that by extending the productive lives of scholars, scribes, and artisans who relied on clear vision, eyeglasses significantly contributed to the intellectual flourishing of the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Imagine countless extra years of reading, writing, and detailed craftsmanship that would have been lost to failing eyesight. The quirky or little-known piece of information is that the invention of eyeglasses is sometimes credited with indirectly boosting the demand for books, as more people could now read for longer periods, laying groundwork for the eventual printing revolution. Historians still debate the precise degree to which eyeglasses influenced the timing and success of major intellectual and artistic movements of the era, but their role was undoubtedly significant. As the centuries gently fold into one another, you can feel the quiet hum of progress, a whisper of a clearer world slowly unfolding. The journey from crude water globes to meticulously ground glass has been long and meandering, much like a lazy river flowing through time. Allow your mind to drift back, letting the images of medieval scriptoriums and Venetian glass furnaces soften and blur at the edges of your awareness. There's a calming reassurance in knowing that even the most profound advancements often begin with the simplest observations and the most persistent efforts. The world you inhabit now, filled with perfectly fitted lenses and laser eye surgery, stands on the shoulders of these patient, often anonymous artisans and thinkers. Feel the weight of history gently settling around you, a comforting blanket of forgotten facts and quiet ingenuity, easing you into a peaceful slumber. The world can wait for your clear-eyed attention tomorrow. Just for tonight, let the soft darkness embrace you and find solace in the slow, steady march of innovation. Sweet dreams.